Howdy everybody, welcome back to Accounting 1101. I hope you're doing well wherever you might be out there. Where I am right now, it's April in Wilmington, Ohio, which means that I am in the process of updating and renewing my Kings Island Gold Pass, getting ready for a summer of fun over at Kings Island. And I want to talk about that as we kind of get into our topic for today. Our topic today is an introduction to the idea of fixed assets. So we'll jump right in here. Going to Kings Island, you walk through the door, there's that excitement. They've got the big fountain there, the Eiffel Tower in the background, and you're getting ready to have a good day when you walk right in there. Maybe you head over to Diamondback and get in line to ride the old Diamondback roller coaster, my personal favorite roller coaster in the entire park. And then maybe after you're done doing that, you run by La Rosa's, you kind of go around the corner there, and you grab yourself a little bit of pizza. And as you walk through the park and you kind of look around, you know me, I like to find accounting examples in everyday life as I'm out and about looking around. You'll notice Kings Island has a lot of fixed assets. In fact, everything we just walked by is a fixed asset as we walk through the park there. So what exactly is a fixed asset? According to your textbook, a fixed asset is a relatively permanent asset, such as equipment, machinery, buildings, and land. And in Kings Island's case, a roller coaster. And you probably knew that from our work in solid footing, but you might have gotten used to just calling them property, plant, and equipment, or property and equipment, or something like that. All those terms are interchangeable. Fixed assets, property, plant, and equipment, they're the exact same thing. So as you're walking through Kings Island, if you have the chance to go this summer, just kind of look around and see if you can find something that is a fixed asset. How do you know if it's a fixed asset? Well, there are three characteristics that kind of decide what a fixed asset is. Number one, it's an asset that has to have a physical presence. It's tangible. You can touch it. You can touch a roller coaster. You can touch the building where the La Rosa's Pizza is. You can go up in the Eiffel Tower. So number one, the asset has to have a physical presence. Number two, it has to be owned and used by the business in its normal operations. All those things we passed at Kings Island would meet that criteria as well. Finally, number three, the asset cannot be for sale as part of normal operations. Kings Island is not in the business of selling off a roller coaster. They're not in the business of selling off the buildings that are on their property or the equipment that's on their property. Right? That's not their normal operations. Their normal operation is to operate a theme park. And I can go into a gift shop and buy a t-shirt, and I can buy inventory. I can buy candy bars and things like that. That's inventory, not a fixed asset. Okay? So three criteria. It has to be tangible, physical thing. It has to be owned and used in normal operations. And three, it can't be for sale as part of normal operations. So we think of fixed assets as kind of the property, plant, and equipment that's used over a long period of time. If we look at their financial statements, the good solid footing accounting student that you are, that our property, plant, equipment, fixed assets are carried on the balance sheet under the asset part of the balance sheet. And we can see Cedar Fair, they're the parent to Kings Island right here. And down here on their balance sheet, they've got property and equipment. Again, property and equipment is fixed assets. They've got it listed separately between land improvements. Land improvements are things like paving the parking lot, putting up the landscaping in the parking lot, lighting, all that good stuff. Buildings, rides and equipment, and construction in progress. Things that they're building but they haven't completed yet. So that Diamondback roller coaster, what they paid to build that is buried there in that $1.9 billion rides and equipment number. Okay? That little booth where you can go get the good La Rosa's Pizza, and the cost to build that is probably right there in the buildings. So the idea is that we're trying to keep track of those fixed assets. I'm trying to make sure we have a number for them to put on that balance sheet. So just to show you a couple of different examples here of what this looks like on the balance sheet. Now, take a look at Walmart, Netflix, Caterpillar, and Papa John's. I have four completely different businesses here 4 different balance sheets. But what you're going to see is they all kind of look the same when it comes to recording those fixed assets or property and equipment. Walmart, consolidated balance sheet, you can see they've got property and equipment. $94 billion worth of property and equipment when you consider these numbers are stated in millions. So $94 billion in property and equipment, you can see that's quite a bit, especially when you compare it to their total assets as a whole. A lot of what's on their balance sheet is inventory and property and equipment. Netflix, a little bit different as far as the amount compared to the total assets. Again, they have stated it as property and equipment. Fixed assets, exact same thing. $1.3 billion compared to $44 billion in total assets. And if you think about it, that makes sense. Netflix doesn't operate any retail stores. They don't operate any theme parks. It's basically something that you get through your computer. You don't have to go anywhere to buy it. You just get online. So they don't need a ton of property and equipment to sustain that. They may have a office building, and they may have a site where they keep the servers or whatever. But generally speaking, they don't need a ton of property and equipment. Our third example, Caterpillar. You can see they've got property, plant, and equipment labeled right there. $12 billion out of $82 billion. So they've got quite a bit of property, plant, and equipment as well. Finally, Papa John's. Who doesn't love pizza? Making myself hungry talking about La Rosa's and Papa John's here. But you can see they've got property and equipment on there as well. $223 million in property and equipment. About a quarter of what's on their balance sheet for total assets is property and equipment. And again, you think about Papa John's, all the locations, all the pizza ovens, cash registers, and shelving, and everything else they've got at those locations. They've got a lot of property and equipment. It's a very capital-intensive business. So, where are we going with all this? After we kind of understand what a fixed asset is, now hopefully, our next videos that we're going to talk about calculating the cost of a fixed asset. When we buy a fixed asset, what goes into that cost that we put on the balance sheet? And then we need to talk about depreciating the fixed assets. We're going to show you how to calculate straight line. Hopefully that'll be a review. We're also going to introduce a brand new way to calculate depreciation called the double declining balance, or DDB. We'll talk about what happens if we have a partial year for depreciation. Maybe we didn't buy it right at the beginning of the year. And then finally, we'll talk about how to dispose of a fixed asset. What happens at the end of the life of the fixed asset when we get rid of it? How does the accounting work for that? So all kinds of fun topics that we're going to get into here. And then when we get done, we're all going to go down to Kings Island. We'll meet up at the Eiffel Tower. We'll have a Coke, and we'll go get on Diamondback. We'll see y'all next time.